Thank you so much for joining us today, Administrator. Your agency has been fighting the child labor crisis before it became a major news story. The Wage and Hour Division's enforcement actions have impacted almost 6,000 children, marking an 80% increase since 2019. This is an issue that both Democrats and Republicans should prioritize, especially in this subcommittee, and yet we have not held a hearing. We have not seriously discussed or marked up a useful legislation either. Although Congress's legislative and funding focus on child labor has been lacking, to say the least, I'm relieved that this administration is doing whatever it can to mitigate child labor violations. Administrator Lumen, could you describe how your office has enhanced its enforcement work, even with limited resources? And can you outline actions taken by DOL Task Force on Child Labor Exploitation that launched last year?
Thank you, Congressman Omar from the state of Minnesota. Absolutely. Child labor exploitation has and continues to be one of the primary focuses of the Wage and Hour Division and the U.S. Department of Labor. We have to protect the most vulnerable workers in America, and those include children. So the work that we're doing, which is very resource intensive when we're looking at Packer Sanitation Services, Inc., for example, where we found more than 102 children who were working in violation of the child labor laws. And that was across 13 states, 13 facilities in 8 states. But there were kids as young as 13. And so this has just got to be a priority, a focus, an area where we are absolutely putting the full expertise and be laser focused across the Wage and Hour Division to protect these kids. So we very much are launched this National Strategic Enforcement Initiative to address child labor exploitation. And this is something that we are making sure that all of our investigators are equipped with the resources and the tools that they need to be able to identify the red flags of child labor violations and then also to enforce those violations. We also have the Interagency Task Force, which is the whole of government approach, where all the departments across the administration are recognizing that they have a role to play in helping make sure that we are combating child labor exploitation and keeping kids safe.
You've had some successes recently. Can you give us an example of some of those successes?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Congresswoman. So again, just recently we had a case out of Minnesota where we were finding that there were teens that were employed illegal to operate dangerous equipment at a foods manufacturing facility. We have some cases across California where we found that children were being responsible for the meat packing facilities and actually working on the kill room floor, killing poultry. And that was a $3.8 million recovery of civil money penalties as well as violations, as well as other FLSA violations. And then we've also found children working in automobile, that's the word I'm looking for, an automobile manufacturing where we find those children working in violation as well.
Thank you for those examples. I know that we were also having conversations about addressing misclassifications. Ms. Lumen, could you walk us through the process of a typical investigation into misclassification?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Again, misclassification of workers of employees as independent contractors is a priority of the Wage and Hour Division and of the department, and we're specifically focused on the most low-wage vulnerable workers who may be deprived of their opportunity to get minimum wage and overtime. And so we're very much looking for and seeing, unfortunately, workers like healthcare workers or construction workers, or, as I said, dishwashers who have been misclassified as independent contractors and therefore deprived of their opportunity to get overtime wages. That's what we're particularly focused on and concerned about, and that's where we're making sure that we're protecting all vulnerable workers and making sure they get their rights under the law.
Yeah, really appreciate that work. Wage theft cases have been rising in Minnesota, and our state Attorney General Keith Ellison has been working really hard to make sure we address some of the problems that exist in the gig economy. And I appreciate you and him and all of the people that are working on this issue. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Chairwoman Fox is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.